Come in and have a seat over here at the table. I know I said it yesterday when you signed in, but I'd like to say it again. Welcome to the unit.
Thank you, Sergeant.
So, Sergeant Davis, how did you like physical training this morning?
It was real good, Sergeant. I could actually breathe. The altitude is a lot lower here than at my last duty station, and it really felt good running.
I know what you mean. I've been stationed at Fort Carson before. It really takes you a while to get adjusted to the elevation. Have you signed for quarters yet?
Yes, Sergeant. We reported early so we could get moved in before I had to sign into the unit. However, my household goods are scheduled for delivery next Wednesday.
That'll work. We don't have a lot going on next week, so you can get your house in order.
That's good. I want to get my wife settled in. She's 3 months pregnant.
Congratulations. Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
No, we won't find out until next month.
By the way, the company has a family readiness group meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. in the battalion classroom. I really encourage both you and your wife to come. It will give your wife a chance to meet some of the other spouses in the company.
We'll be there, Sergeant. My wife likes getting involved in the FRG.
All right, let's take a look at the counseling form. As you can see, I've listed the key points for our initial counseling session. This covers the unit's standing operating procedures and the do's and don'ts per se. I'll let you read over the form, and then I want to discuss a few of the major points.
Okay, Sergeant.
As you know, there's a zero tolerance for alcohol-related incidents. I encourage you, if you use alcohol, do it responsibly and never drink and drive.
You don't have to worry about that problem with me, Sergeant. My family comes first, and I would never do anything to jeopardize that.
That's good. Additionally, as you've seen on the counseling form, we have some off-limits areas listed. Stay away from these areas. Some are for safety reasons, and others are known for taking advantage of soldiers and their families. So, it may be a good idea to brief your wife on those areas so she's also aware.
Sure will, Sergeant.
Okay, most everything else is pretty cut and dry. Do you have any questions on anything else listed on the counseling form?
No, Sergeant.
All right, let's look at the NCOER support form. As you can see, as squad leader, I'm your raider. The platoon sergeant, Sergeant First Class Cadet, is your senior raider, and the platoon leader, Second Lieutenant Marquez, is the reviewer. Your principal duty title is going to be as a team leader.
I'm looking forward to being a team leader. I was actually selected to receive the leadership award at Warrior Leaders Course.
That's awesome. I think you're going to be a good fit as the team leader for Bravo Team. You can read over the daily duties and scope. That is basically a summary of what you're expected to do on a day-to-day basis.
Understood, Sergeant.
The things listed in areas of special emphasis are what I want you to focus on for the rated period. The APFT and weapons qualification for you and your soldiers are the primary ones you need to start with, because we're scheduled for the range next month, and then the APFT the following month.
I'm looking forward to physical training with my soldiers.
As you look at the rest of the form, you'll see that I have listed some bullet comments in the rest of the sections. Look at physical fitness and military bearing, for example. I listed your team's APFT average from the last record test. Their average was a 241. So for you to earn a success in this section, I expect you to continue leading challenging physical training and maintaining the standards. However, if you want to earn an excellence rating, you would have to go beyond the standards, such as scoring a minimum of 270 points, with at least 90 points in each event, or by significantly raising your team's APFT average.
That sounds like a challenge, Sergeant, and I accept.
In the leadership section, I've highlighted taking care of soldiers. That is your number one priority as NCO. If you take care of your soldiers, everything else will fall into place. And understand, taking care of soldiers is ensuring that they are trained, well-equipped, and ready to fight.
I understand, Sergeant. My soldiers will be my number one priority.
We've already talked a little about training earlier, but I just want to reiterate the fact that we have ranges scheduled next month for basic rifle marksmanship and close quarters marksmanship. You will need to get busy fast, since there isn't a lot of time between now and then. The soldiers in your team did well the last time they went to the range, so you have a good start. The last thing I want to cover is responsibility and accountability. The platoon leader has the master hand receipt for your platoon, but he will have you inventory the equipment for your team and have you sign for it on a sub-hand receipt. That equipment will be your responsibility to account for and maintain.
Too easy, Sergeant.
Okay, that covers the NCOER support form. Do you have any questions on anything we discussed?
No, I don't think so, Sergeant.
All right then, welcome to the platoon. Don't make plans for lunch tomorrow. The platoon sergeant likes to get all the members of the platoon together at the dining facility when we have a new member.
Okay, Sergeant. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Sergeant Davis. Link back up with your sponsor and finish in processing. I'll see you at the COB formation.
Sergeant Williams, Sergeant Rivera here to speak with you about the MSAF 360 assessment we discussed earlier in the motor pool.
Come in, Sergeant Rivera. How are you doing?
Not bad, Sergeant. How about you?
Good, thanks for asking. Have a seat over here at the table. When you spoke to me in the motor pool, it sounded like you were surprised by some of the feedback you received in your MSAF report. Why do you suppose your subordinate raters think you're unapproachable?
I was thinking about that, and I know sometimes I'm short with them.
What do you mean by short?
For example, sometimes when they're discussing something that doesn't apply to what we are working on, I might change the conversation to refocus them.
Okay, I did notice you doing that the other morning when PFC Jones asked you a question about the difference between basic allowance for housing rates for married and single soldiers.
Well, knowing he wasn't married and wasn't entitled to basic allowance for housing, I changed the subject somewhat and thought about the next room inspection I was planning on having.
It's good that you keep your soldiers informed about things like inspections. However, you did change the subject when he asked you a specific question. Why do you think he was asking about basic allowance for housing rates?
I'm not really sure, maybe for a friend or something.
Do you think it was important to PFC Jones at the time?
I really didn't think about that. I was focusing on the fact that he wasn't entitled to basic allowance for housing.
It's good that you can recognize that now, but how could you have avoided not cutting him off at the time?
I probably should have heard him out so I could get to the bottom of why he asked the question in the first place.
Is cutting people off something you find yourself doing often?
Now that I think about it, I probably do it more than I thought. Maybe I should start listening a little more before jumping to a conclusion.
Okay, that is one thing you could work on.
I actually read something the other day about communication, and it said that to be a good communicator, you first had to listen. It also listed a few steps, like being attentive and engaging in a conversation by using verbal emphasis and nonverbal gestures. I think I'll try some of those steps when talking with my soldiers.
That would be good and should help out some with the communication barrier with your soldiers. But what other reasons would there be for them to think you're unapproachable?
I'm not real sure.
Okay, what was happening the other day after formation when you had your squad doing push-ups?
I was giving them instructions on how we were going to prepare for the upcoming range, and Specialist Doster wouldn't stop asking questions.
What was Specialist Doster asking questions about?
It was about the range, but it was information that I had gone over before and that he should have known.
Do you think that maybe he just didn't understand because of the way you were explaining things? Even though Doster is a specialist, you have to remember that he has only been in the Army for a little over a year. He might not understand all the military jargon or be confident that he knows everything he has to do to support the range.
Well, to be honest, I thought he was just being a wise guy and trying to push my buttons.
So, put yourself in his shoes for a minute and try to think how you would feel in that situation.
Well, I probably wouldn't like it.
Would you want to come to me and ask questions about things if I was always jumping on you for what I thought were simple things?
No, I probably wouldn't. Putting it in that context is kind of making me see a few things that I should probably work on.
I'm glad that you recognize some changes you should make. I think you have a pretty good leadership style. You keep them informed, treat them fairly, and train them well. You probably just need to make a few changes in the way you listen to your soldiers and communicate with them so that they aren't afraid to speak with you, and they know their issues are being heard and understood by you.
Thank you, Sergeant, for taking the time to discuss these things with me. I think I will try to make some adjustments when talking with my soldiers and then just take it from there.
I like that attitude, but I'd like you to go a step further. As you interact with your soldiers over the next couple of days, I want you to consciously use better methods of communication, as you said, but I also want you to pay attention to the outcomes of your conversations. See if you can notice a change in tension or uncertainty on the part of your soldiers. Look for increased frequency as soldiers speaking to you and other things that may indicate that they may see you as more approachable. Then, if you want, come back and see me in a couple of weeks so we can discuss what you did and how it affected the way your soldiers approach and communicate with you. If necessary, we can also discuss additional actions you can take.
I'll take you up on that, Sergeant. I'm gonna head back down to the motor pool and get some work done.
Okay, Sergeant Rivera, I look forward to seeing how it works out.
Sergeant Williams, it's Sergeant Rivera.
Hello, Sergeant Rivera. I've asked you here so we can go over your NCOER before we digitally sign it. Come on in and have a seat at the table. So, how have you and your wife been doing?
We've been fine, Sergeant, just keeping busy on weekends. We've been doing a lot of hiking and mountain biking lately.
Sounds like fun. I wish I had the time to get out and do some recreational things. We keep busy with the kids, always running them to or from a soccer practice or games. Seems like all our off-duty time is consumed by catering to the kids.
That's funny, Sergeant. We don't have that problem just yet, but we've decided that next year is going to be the year to try for our first baby.
That's great. I wish you the best. So, let's get to business. First, I'd like you to take a look at the front of the NCOER and verify that all the admin data in Part 1 is correct. Verify your name, social security number, and email address. Also make sure your date of rank is correct.
Looks good, Sergeant.
Great. Now let's discuss how I have rated you for your performance over the last year. As you can see in Part 4, I have rated you all yeses on the Army Corps values. I feel that you've embraced the values and demonstrated them well.
Thank you, Sergeant. I appreciate that.
No problem. Now let's look over the back. As you can see, in the competence block, I rated you excellent. I feel you are one of the most proficient NCOs in the platoon when it comes to MOS competency. You have displayed a lot of discipline by completing 18 college credit hours. It shows that you can effectively balance work and your personal life, demonstrating good time management skills.
Thank you, Sergeant. That really means a lot. It wasn't easy, but I know how important civilian education is, and I really need to keep pursuing a degree.
I know it has been a lot of extra work, but I hope you will continue to work on your degree. Now, in physical fitness, I gave you a success. You are meeting the standard. However, to receive an excellence block, you will need to go above and beyond. One way of doing that would be to score at least a 270 on the APFT with at least 90 points in each event. Or you could coach your team into scoring significantly above the company average.
Understood, Sergeant.
In leadership, I rated you a success. However, you need to improve on your leadership skills.
Sergeant, I don't understand. I thought I was providing excellent leadership.
Not necessarily. You had a few incidents involving some of the soldiers in your squad over the past few months that I think stronger leadership from you could have prevented. If you recall, Specialist Smith showed up to formation late on several occasions, and Private Bratton failed his APFT. There was also the incident last fall of lost equipment, but we will discuss that when we get to the responsibility and accountability block.
But Sergeant, that was my soldiers, not me.
That's true, but remember, we discussed these very issues during your last 2 quarterly counseling sessions, and you concurred that you must take responsibility for your soldiers as well as yourself.
Sergeant, I know what you are saying, but there has to be a line somewhere that differentiates me from my soldiers. I don't think that I should have to suffer on my NCOER because of their actions.
You have to understand that in the Army, you do share responsibility for the performance of your soldiers. If you provide good leadership, your soldiers will follow that example and do the same.
Sergeant, that just doesn't seem fair.
It is fair to rate you on your performance of your duties. As a squad leader, your duties include seeing that your squad members are at their place of duty on time, that they are physically fit and well trained, and that individual and squad equipment is properly maintained and accounted for. The Army expects, and your soldiers deserve, good leadership. I'm not saying that you are a poor leader. I'm saying that your leadership skills and attention to your leadership responsibilities need some refining. The past year was a success, but if you want to be excellent at leadership, you will need to learn how to effectively lead your soldiers down the right path and help them in making the right decisions. It's about what is good for the soldier and good for the Army.
Roger, Sergeant, I understand. I just think that not getting all excellence blocks will hurt me later when it comes time for promotion.
That is not true. Getting all excellence blocks could actually hurt you if the bullet comments don't justify the excellence rating. In that case, board members might see your NCOER as inflated and discount the whole thing. They look at hundreds of reports and can easily pick out the fluff.
Oh, I see, Sergeant. I didn't realize that.
A lot of soldiers don't realize that. Okay, moving on. In training, you received an excellence block because you were able to bring out the best in your squad, as shown by the fact that 2 of your soldiers won Soldier of the Month boards and 1 soldier won Brigade Soldier of the Quarter.
No argument here.
Now, for accountability, you received a success. As you can recall, Specialist Smith lost his night vision goggles when we were in the field last November.
Sergeant, I don't see how that was my fault.
Remember, if you had done a hands-on equipment check like you were instructed to do, we could have prevented them from coming up missing in the first place. Fortunately for you, they were found quickly, or this block may have been marked as needs improvement.
But Sergeant, I did do a hands-on check, just not at the exact time you told me to.
That is exactly my point. If you had done the check when all the squad leaders were told to do them, we could have discovered the missing goggles sooner, stopped the training exercise, and backtracked where we were. That way, we could have found them faster, and less training would have been lost. Since you didn't follow instructions and did the check later, we had to stop training and cover more ground. Fortunately, we found them.
Roger, Sergeant, I got it. Since you put it that way, I understand.
In Part 5, Overall Performance and Potential, I rate you as fully capable. I can't rate you this year as among the best. Fully capable is the rating supported and justified by the rest of the NCOER.
I understand, Sergeant.
All right, Sergeant Rivera, do you have any questions for me?
No, Sergeant.
With the exception of the accountability issue, you had a good year, and I expect more out of you in the next one. Take what you learned last year and apply it to this coming year. Learn from your mistakes so that you don't make them again.
I will, Sergeant. You can count on that.
Great. The platoon leader wants to see you this afternoon, immediately after lunch, to go over the senior raider portion with you.
Roger, Sergeant. Too easy.
All right, Sergeant Rivera. After you and the platoon leader are done, we will digitally sign your NCOER, so you should be expecting to receive it tomorrow sometime for your signature.
All right, Sergeant.
Have a good day, and give my best to Maria.
Wilco, Sergeant. Same to you.